Thanks, Maggie and Jenny. I'm Katie Weintraub.
And I'm Laima Bobelis. Welcome to the Now You Know second installment of the newest segment, Spotlight on the Arts. The segment that sheds some light on the arts happening here at BC and around Boston.
Tonight we have a special guest with us, Professor Susan Miholchik. Professor Miholchik teaches in the A&S Honors Department and is actually my professor this year. Professor Miholchik's husband, John Miholchik, also teaches at BC. He is co-director of the Film Studies Department, and last week his newest documentary premiered at BC.
Entitled Writing on the Wall, Remembering the Berlin Wall. It commemorates the 20th anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall and relives the history surrounding it. It also premiered at the Museum of Fine Arts over Columbus Day weekend.
So without further ado, I want to thank you very much for being here with us tonight, Professor. We have a few questions for you about the film.
Fine. Thank you, Katie and Laima.
First off, you're credited as co-screenwriter for the film. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience and what that job entailed?
Well, the entire production was begun about 9 months ago when the German government asked us. BC was selected as the only Boston area university to participate in the German government's Freedom Without Walls project. And so this was the first time we had a very shortened amount of time to do a film. Tight deadline, had to be completed before November 9th, the 20th anniversary. I stayed home while my husband, son, and Professor Michael Ressler from the German department and our film crew went to Germany to do all the interviews in June. And when they came home, my job was to shorten the 20 hours of interviews, plus archival footage, into a 54-minute documentary. We got it down to an hour and 40 minutes, and then had to cut it again. So writing the script is complicated because you have to get the nuances of everything, right. And the time is a problem.
Right.
So that's basically what it entailed.
So is the film simply about the fall, or is there any history before and after it, or was there a specific focus?
Well, actually, it's a great question because, as I said to my students, you didn't even know the wall came down, much that it had been up, because most students aren't 20 years old or wouldn't even remember the wall. And so the goal was to incorporate elements of history along with contemporary responses so as to understand the integration now that the wall is there. And one of the other points that we really made an attempt to include is the issue of the meaning of walls and barriers, so that in the film, various people who are interviewed speak about immigration, emigration, the struggles now with walls, borders, boundaries. So it's very contemporary. It hits political issues. It hits many other things, as well as historical and artistic, because one of the key interviewees is the artist, sculptor Edwina Sands, who is the granddaughter of Winston Churchill. And we begin with part of the film out in Fulton, Missouri, where her statue, her sculpture of Breakthrough and Breaking Free, is at the Westminster College, where her grandfather first spoke in 1946, anticipating the fall, anticipating the Iron Curtain. He spoke of an Iron Curtain before it went up. So it blends a number of things.
Besides Edwina, are there any other prominent speakers or people who are interviewed in the film?
Mm-hmm. It's a series of very important, big-name recognition politicians, former mayors, Mayor Schultz of the formerly the mayor of West Berlin, the vice president of the German parliament now, formerly of East Germany, Wolfgang Thierse, Baron Hermann von Richthofen, who was the grandnephew of the Red Baron, Sergei Khrushchev, the son of Nikita Khrushchev, Ingrid Graubner, who was an activist in East Germany, and Alexandra Hildebrandt, who is the director of the museum at Checkpoint Charlie. So it's a variety of people involved.
So I know you mentioned that there was some filming going on in Germany and Missouri, I think you said also. Were there any other spots where you filmed, and how long did the movie take?
Those were the two locations for on-site filming. Then there's archival footage intermixed. And then the other important aspect that we don't want to leave out is the music. Ralph Gavlik, who's here, professor in the music department, worked on that with his wife, Barbara. Mark Ludwig and the Harmonic Quartet from Hawthorne Quartet, performed the music. And so it was really a labor of love. Professor Ressler Professor Charles Lukevich from Harvard, a number of faculty came together to assist my husband John and the other co-producer Ron Marsh to pull together all the footage and then film and then cut the film and splice and adapt. And it takes a long time, and we couldn't have done it without Michael Ressler's help because he is the German specialist and came in at the last moment to even fill in the narration. So all these things, voiceovers, many things go into making a film.
And I know that this film premiered at the MFA a few weeks ago. Could you tell us a little bit about that? And then also there was a panel following that with Edwina Sandys, if I'm not mistaken.
We had
that experience.
A very, very positive opening at the Museum of Fine Arts. And Edwina Sands was there to be part of the panel following up. She was pleased with the recognition of her grandfather and also her art. And as she said at the follow-up discussion, and also when she was here last week at BC, it's very hard to situate historically what all of this means. And as an artist especially, she has a sensitivity toward the boundaries and toward the rupturing of the psyche that was happening with this no man's land and with the walls and the second wall behind the first wall. And so being able to reintroduce a sense of unification and resolution, conflict resolution, was one of the points that we talked about at the follow-up.
So where is the movie going from here? Like, where are you planning to take this film?
Well, a number of places. First, after the BC showing, we are going to New York, and it will be presented through a combination of the universities, the New York School of Law, the New School for Social Research, and the Lawyers Without Borders. So that'll be a 2-day colloquium next week, or whenever, the 9th and 10th. And at the Chelsea Museum, Art Museum, Edwina's art is being displayed along with clips from the film, and it's also being streamed in various parts of the world. Milan, for example, right now. This 20th anniversary is a very important celebration, and I think that thanks to the German government's willingness to include Boston College, it became a real Boston College endeavor, and it was a challenge, and we hope that it will also highlight all that BC has done. The coming together, the interdisciplinary nature, students and faculty working together, and we're hoping it's been submitted to PBS. Usually my husband's films are shown on PBS, and then they're looking towards doing some kind of box set of these conflict resolution films. So it should have an extended shelf life. We're hoping at least 20 years.
You'll have to let us know if it's on PBS.
Thank you.
And one final question. Do you think that this is a very important and timely film for students to see? And, if so, where can they get access to this film in the future?
Well, eventually it will be available in O'Neill, as all of my husband's films are. And I think it's important because it helps us understand the meaning, how divisive the world can be, and then coming together, hearing stories from the East, from the West, from those in power positions and less. And the ending of the film is I think, quite profound, because Edwina is early on after the episode of the historical situation, and at the end, and as an artist, her representation of this breakthrough, which shows in 8 panels of the wall, a man and a woman cut out in space, and then you can walk through it, so that Reagan was able to walk through it. Gorbachev was able to walk through it, and after the wall had fallen down. And so this artistic notion with the music that comes together as if it's a unifying force, at the very end of the film, when they were interviewing people, they just were interviewing this group called the East Side Gallery, artists, contemporary artists, and stumbled across people who had spent 19 years in a prison in East Germany, and that now, as artists, they're bringing together and recreating murals and artwork. So again, I think that the importance of art and community breaking down barriers, I think that's important. And that's something that our students today would understand. So they do a lot of interviews on the streets with people, and I think it will provide historical analysis, sense of what's been happening, why it matters that the wall has come down, the problems that happened before, during. I think it's a wonderful way for people who never knew about the wall to get a sense of it in a very short time. I mean, it's 54 minutes, give or take a second.
Right. Well, thank you so much for being
You're
here
very welcome.
tonight, Professor.
You're very welcome.
Was really interesting, and I'm sure we'll be checking that movie
of
out
course.
as soon as it comes to O'Neill.
Thank you. Right.
So be sure to check out Writing on the Wall. It sounds like a very interesting and enriching experience.
We hope your creative juice is flowing.
And now, back to the desk.